Hey YouTube, just want to talk about a few things that have been on my mind. Just got back from an exhausting public transportation ride all the way to my home, and last night I was watching this program called Blueprint America. I think that was the name of it. I just watched part of it. It was all about Detroit and how horrible Detroit is, and I don't know if you've seen Steven Crowder's video on it. He has a really good video on Detroit. But anyway, it was acting like, oh man, public transportation is America's future. Oh, high-speed rail and all this stuff and cars, they're going to have to be changed. It's all going to be car sharing now and all this. Well, I just want to let people know that live in some parts of the country that are a little less public transportation friendly, what it's like to actually live in a state that has a lot of public transportation. Like here in Oregon, in the Portland area, it has public transportation. But I also want to talk a little bit about the drawbacks of that. So one of the things they were showing on there was a car sharing system, and I've used that, and it kind of sucks. It's kind of expensive, and there's this idea that you have to take public transportation while you're in the city, and then you can use the car sharing thing for when you do need a car. Well, that's kind of expensive. It's like $9 or $10 an hour, and it's not bad if you get the day rate, but if you want to go outside of town, it really limits your options. I'm a big outdoors person, and I love to go hiking and things like that, and we kind of have to find groups and carpool and things, because if you don't have a car, it stinks, and I don't right now. But I'm from a state, Oklahoma, where everybody has a car. It was acting like in this video, this stupid show, it was acting like we had to become like Spain, which built all these high-speed rail things, and it showed Obama talking about that. Well, Spain is one of these countries that is teetering on the edge of default, as are many of these EU common currency, the euro currency countries. A lot of them are teetering on the edge of default, and they said, well, we can't afford not to. Well, that sounds just like that Obama rhetoric. They were like acting like that the cars are the evil and we have to get rid of our cars. Well, the fact that America has so many cars is actually a sign of wealth. So they actually want to get rid of our wealth. And besides the Keynesian economic crap, I kind of wonder what the real reason is for this push for public transportation. And with all these wars, and with the Medicare crisis and Social Security crisis that we're facing, I sometimes wonder if they want to put us all on public transit because they're going to make us a lot poorer through high taxation and inflation. And that makes a lot of sense. But I want people to know who don't have to take public transportation how crappy it can be. I no longer live in Portland, but I used to, and I can tell you that a lot of times on certain bus lines or certain MAX lines, it stinks. It really, literally stinks. There'll be so many homeless people and everything. It's not funny. It's not pleasant to be around, and you get the most low-life people around you on the public transportation. And so you could say, but what about if more people take it, there'll be less of those people. Well, there'll still be those people taking it, because if you go in further inside Portland, it's where it's gotten really expensive to live. There are still homeless people hanging around there, and they're very aggressive. In fact, I was recently talking to somebody who works at the local Amtrak, and I don't want to say too much, but he told me some pretty effed up stories about what he experienced there downtown with the homeless people and all of that. Portland has a real big problem with homeless. I just can't help, after reading Atlas Shrugged, to maybe feel that the reason we have so much problem with that is the failed social policies. In Portland we have this kind of idea of a limit on the city, on urban growth. And everybody thinks that's so green. Well, it's pushed up the property values, which makes housing more unaffordable. And also, the property taxes here are really high. I actually had somebody who had to evict us because the property taxes he was going to have to pay were really, really astronomically expensive. So he was going to have to evict us and sell his place so he wouldn't have to pay the taxes. I think it was going to be, I think he said $20,000 in taxes. And this is just for like what was essentially an apartment. It was a condominium technically, but it was really just an old-fashioned apartment. It wasn't anything special. It didn't cost, it wasn't like what people think condominium, they think something really nice, but this wasn't that nice. It was an apartment building that people owned the apartments in it. And we rented it just like an apartment, but we rented it from the owner and not from like a company of like apartment places. And all of this ties into the Federal Reserve again. The housing prices were going way up. They're building all these condominiums in downtown Portland. This is the idea like, oh, you shouldn't have to drive anywhere, and all of that. Well, I don't think that, they pushed all the poor people into the suburbs, which is where I live. And I actually put up with like gang members and all of that just to get home, because I go to school, and I have to get around. It's not easy, and it's not pleasant at all. It's very much an imposition. And the thing is, if Oregon's always like, people are always talking about, oh, it's the mountains and the ocean, or the mountain, as they say. Yeah, that's true, but how are you going to get to that without a car? So these people that are anti-car, they just don't understand anything. They really have bought hook, line, and sinker all of this earth crap, and all it does is it impoverishes the average people and makes a few people very, very, very wealthy. So I just want people to know that relying on public transportation is not great. It's a lower level of existence by far, and the fact that Obama wants to push this on everybody is bogus. We would actually be able to have a private rail systems, private everything, if there wasn't such a high level of taxation. They want to fund all of this with deficit spending too. It's just a nightmare. First they want to destroy our cars, and then they want to like force us all into public transportation. It's just a socialist. It's a socialist cream dream. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, it's not socialist." It's not socialist at all. Well, it's social engineering. Even though it's mixed with corporations and all of that. Like all this electric car BS. That's all corporations, yes, but it's all funded from the government. It's not funded from what the market can produce. And if you've seen the whole stupid Chevy Volt thing, you see what a disaster that's been. I don't even know if they can get that stupid thing to run yet. It would surprise me if they can. But they already destroyed a perfectly successful electric vehicle, and that was stupid. This whole rant, I know it's all disconnected, but I just want people to understand that this whole transportation thing is not what it seems. Especially those of you, I want to understand, those of you who don't live in a place where there's public transportation. You should understand what you're in for. It's not ideal. Thanks for watching.